I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, November the 17th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. To learn more about how Macrocin compared head-to-head against Pioneer products in a study, go to macrocin.com. It's proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri, going to have another big sale for their Monday feeder cattle auction, expecting about 8,500 head of feeder cattle and calves. It's going to start at 5:30 in the morning. So, Mark Harmon told me they're going to have many loads of yearlings at this sale. Of course, they'll have a good test of all classes of cattle, but also wanted me to let y'all know that next Monday, the 24th, they're going to be having a yearling special. And a lot of folks kind of hold their yearlings back for that special every year. So you can expect a really big offering of yearling cattle on Monday, November the 24th. They're also having a Show Me Select replacement heifer sale coming up this Friday, the 21st, starting at 7 o'clock p.m. You can keep up with all that's going on at Joplin Stockyards at joplinstockyards.com. And of course, you can always view and bid every sale they have there at Joplin on DVAuction.com. Trump's losing the cattle community. Yes, I'm serious, and it's me that's saying it. I've been one of the biggest Trump supporters from the get-go. I've taken a lot of grief about it from the comment section on this video a lot of times. But I tell you what, the cattle people have had about enough of it. He's just beat us up and beat us up and beat us up until we're tired of it. You can't move on and do something else. You don't understand. He doesn't understand the cattle business. He doesn't understand the beef business. He thinks he can stop the cattle over here or bring the prices down here, and it's going to affect the beef on the plate for people. There's way too many middlemen included in that. He needs to get a lesson in that. It might take him a while. It takes a little while to figure out this business. He is said he wanted to do some investigating into the big four packers. Well, if he thinks there's enough crookedness going on that he wants to investigate the big four packers, he should also realize that it might not be as clear as the surface, this cattle business. But in less than a month, feeder cattle have lost $40 a hundred. That's only been about 3.5 weeks. $40 a hundred. Many of the calves have lost more. The lightweight calves, $50 or $60 a hundred. And every time he comes out and makes one of those statements or releases an announcement or something like that, which he's done several times here in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we see a limit down move. A limit down move on the board is $50 a head on these light calves that folks are selling, that they get to sell one time a year. It's not that if people in the cattle business just have cattle all the time to sell. They get to sell once a year. They're selling their spring calf crop right now. Every time he sends the board going down the limit, that's $50 a head. Absolutely. It's more like a little over $100 a head for the fed cattle when he sends the live cattle futures down the limit. And he's been doing it time after time after time. We're expecting it again early this week, because on Friday he has learned, and I don't know if he's been watching the feeder flash or not, but he has learned to stop making those posts or those statements during business hours. So he doesn't do it while the board's still open. So the last couple he's made have been on Friday afternoon. He made another one this past Friday afternoon, is that he's going to be dropping all the reciprocal tariffs on beef. There's some other products in there, mostly food type products, coffee, bananas, things like that. But the one we're talking about is beef. He's going to drop all those reciprocal tariffs on beef. That includes Brazil. Brazil is the world's largest beef producer. They passed us up. And I know Brazil's not our favorite trade partner right now, but you don't think they'll be sending a whole lot of beef over here? Be that lean grind, which you know, they don't have the kind of product on our high end, our primal cuts that we have for the ribeye logs and the best steak cuts and those things like that. They're not going to be coming over, but a lot of that lean trim is going to be coming over. Now, Brazil is still going to have the 40% tariff on it, which was the original tariff. It's still going to have that, but not coming back with the reciprocals, which absolutely shut shipments of beef down coming into the United States. But you know, it's going to drop pretty much all the tariffs on some of those other companies that are countries that send us beef. You know, it's going to hurt. A lot of people don't know how bad it's going to hurt. I like it that he waited till Friday afternoon to do it, but much like the one that he made the week prior, wanting to investigate the Packers, I thought it was going to be a big boon for the board, and a lot of people spent the whole weekend, you know, haggling it out and talking about it and overthinking it, and they thought it might be a downer, but the board opened on Monday and it eventually went up the limit. And I think the board will be down the limit here on Monday. I hope the board is not down the limit all week. I'm serious. I think this is that bearish. It is absolutely bearish. Now, a lot of the people I talk with in the industry, and they're kind of analysts and active with what's going on, they've talked themselves off of that from Friday. Over the weekend, they think, well, maybe it won't be quite as bad as what they say, and now they're saying, well, that kind of stuff was leaked late in the week before they actually let it come out or come out with any announcements or public posts about it. It was kind of leaked out there, and maybe some people knew about it, so maybe it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad, and how bad I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to lock the board down the limit here. But you know, it's just been time after time after time. Trump has not attacked any industry like he has the beef and cattle, and he needs to learn more about it, all the factors at play before he does it anymore. And I know a lot of people in the cattle business. Talked to a lot of them, most of them Friday afternoon when this first come out, and most all of them were big Trump supporters, and they've had enough. You know, enough's enough. But less than 1% of the population, I guess, he can lose them, but then he'll probably get us back at some point from all the positive things that he's doing. But this fooling around with this cattle market, we've had enough of it. I want to tell you about a sale that's coming up here at Callaway Livestock Center. It's going to be on Saturday. Of course, they've got their regular sale here on Monday, but on Saturday, they're having the Fall Elite video auction. Saturday night, November the 22nd at 7 p.m. They're going to have a social hour and free dinner starting at 6. Then they're going to have a video sale, but it's going to take place right there at Callaway Livestock Center. They're going to have registered Angus bulls on there, and then some of the fanciest replacements that you can find in the Midwest, guys. They've got bred heifers, bred cow, young bred cows, and young cow-calf pairs from all over the Midwest. Some of the top consignments in Missouri, Iowa, and Kansas. It's going to be on DVAuction. You can go to DVAuction now and look at the videos of those cattle and start looking through them this week before Saturday. But big sale there at Callaway Livestock Center. Let's talk about your board for last week. December live cattle futures. Monday was up 720. Remember, we saw a big boost there because said they were going to be investigating the Packers. Monday was up 720. Tuesday down 135. Wednesday down 192. Thursday down 627. and it wasn't real clear the meaning for that, and maybe it was some of this leaked information that he was going to be dropping tariffs. I don't know. But I would have thought if it was that, it would have been worse on Friday. Friday was up 15 on live cattle. But December live cattle futures ended the week at 219.15, down 220. February ended the week at 219.52. That was down 203 for the week there. November feeder cattle, Monday up the limit, up 9 1/4. Tuesday was up 202. Wednesday was up 135. Thursday down 202. And Friday up 167, with November feeder cattle ending the week at 338.67. That was up 12.27 for the week. We didn't see that kind of gain on the cash market, guys. January feeder cattle ended the week at 320.55, and that was up 98 cents for the week. Actually, your November feeder cattle had to gain back that much to get kind of close to what your index levels are. Look at your grains last week. December corn ended the week at 430 1/4. That was up 3 cents for the week. January beans ended the week at 11.24 1/2, up 7.5 cents a bushel for the week. And hard red winter wheat for March, we're going to start talking about now, ended the week at 5.31, down a penny. Your fed cattle trade up through Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They had sold 42,700 head in the negotiated areas there at the 5-area feeding region, and it was lower. And the fed cattle traded, a lot of cattle negotiated the previous week to last, so we knew it was going to kind of be lower. They didn't trade much last week, so maybe we can gain some of that back once the board straightens out this week. But fat steers and heifers last week sold from 221 to 228. That was $4 to $7 lower on the trend. Weighted average on live steers was 225.35 up through Thursday afternoon, down 335 compared to the previous week's weighted average. Dress sales 346 to 355, $9 to $10 lower. Weighted average on dress steers 350.95, down 738 compared to the previous week's weighted average. Now on Friday they sold some more cattle, and in Iowa they sold some cattle off the market further yet. I don't know what kind of fears or what they saw there, but Iowa sold 1,400 on Friday. They sold 16,750 for the week there. There'll be a few more for the weekly wrap up there, but live prices 218 to 222 is well off the market, and dressed market at 350, which that's within the range. Nebraska sold 200 head confirmed on Friday, 21,500 for the week. Live price in Nebraska was 225. Kansas sold 750 head, 4,600 for the week. Live price in Kansas on Friday was 226 to 227. Texas did not have any confirmed sales on Friday, but it sold 2,250 for the week. Box beef cutout values were lower last week, but not enough lower to say that the administration has solved the beef inflation there. They were just off a little bit. They had been higher ever since we started seeing all these messages from Washington, D.C. But your weighted average on all of last week's choice cuts last week was 375.06, down 284. By the Friday late report, it had come out at 370.73, down about another $4.25 compared to that weighted average. Your weighted average on all of select cuts last week, 357.80, down 286, but your late Friday sales were down another 355 from that at 354.24. Choice select spread on the weighted average was $17.26. All that information based on 644 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, which is about average, but that's nothing compared to how much of that meat actually trades. But we only get to see the spot market on 644 loads a week, and they sell a lot more beef than that, guys. Your slaughter last week was 576,000 estimated there. That was 16,000 more than the previous week. So they did step up the kill just a little bit, but that was still more than 30,000 less than last year at this time. Let's talk about what else is going on. FerAppease, talk about it all the time, is that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven. I tell you what, late last summer there, we got to go down there. Some of the guys from DVAuction got to go down to where Dr. Rodrigo resides there at College Station, Texas. He was getting ready to open up his new manufacturing facility for FerAppease. And we got to sit down and talk with him, find out a little bit more about him. Got to meet his two sons that he actually named his company after. And that is totally a family operation there. Met his wife. She's been heavily involved in FerAppease from the get-go. Dr. Rodrigo originally came to Cornell to work up in New York. That's one of the top ag schools. And he was working in the dairy industry part of it, doing a lot of research and things like that. And once he started, he got away from academia and got his own laboratories and started digging into this, what he calls FerAppease now. Tell you what, he decided that he wanted to do that in Texas, and he moved to College Station, Texas. He and his family love it down there. And tell you what, there's a video that I'm going to post after this Feeder Flash episode that has Dr. Rodrigo telling about FerAppease in his own words. Be sure and watch that. I've never posted it on here before. For more information, go to FerAppease.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They're working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index from DVAuction ended the week at 341.02 based on an 800-pound cash auction steer. That was 42 cents actually higher than the end of the previous week. And the market on feeder cattle going right into the feed yard, was pretty steady all week long. It was the calves that were so volatile. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 343.73. But your cash trends in your sale barns, your early week sales on Monday. Monday, your board was up the limit, but your cattle auctions were still lower cash market because, you just can't turn them that quick. You can turn that trading and now algorithms there on your CME cattle futures, but your cash board doesn't turn around that quick. They were still lower to start the week on Monday. Then they were very volatile as to what they were calling that market against. Usually you see your auctions, they call the market from the previous week's sale. And it was very volatile the previous week, so they might have been, 20 or 30 lower. Well, some of them were higher compared to that. Some of them didn't see that big loss, so they were lower. But it's just been very, very volatile, unhealthy for the cash market, and unfair to those folks that are selling their calf crop, during this times, which it shouldn't be like this. Look at your big sales late last week and over the weekend. One that I saw was a stick out sale there was Harriet, South Dakota, had 4,900 head. The steer calves, bulk of them, sold $6 to $9 higher because they were one of the lower markets the previous week. Heifer calves were $15 to $20 higher, but the peewees, the little 3 and light 4 weight calves, they were $15 to $20 lower. And we saw they had several yearlings there too. Demand was good for them and they sold well. Harriet was your Superior Steel Sales home of Superior Standard livestock equipment. Stick out sale of the day. And you look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central and you see your best tested weights. They had 288 steers in the 4 weight category at Harriet, average 455 with a weighted average price of 492.12. 635 head of the 5 weight steers, average 560 at 420.30. There were 496 head of the 9 weights. You're going to jump all the way to the 9 weights, average 946 pounds at 325.81 on the weighted average. There were 487 head of light 10 weight steers. They averaged 1027 at 322.96. Heifers, they had 306 head of the 4 weight heifer calves. They averaged 462 at 413.11. 369 head of the 5 weight heifer calves averaged 536 at $400.95. And 262 head of 9 weight heifers there at Harriet, South Dakota, they averaged 940 with a weighted average price of $295.38. Been a while since we saw a 2 in our stick out sales, but the most impressive thing I saw come out of Harriet was they had like 7 loads of feeder steers that weighed from 1,000 to 1,050 pounds, and those 7 loads bring from 327 to 327.75. That's awfully good. Give you some other individual quotes I thought were pretty good. How about Tri-State Livestock Market in Abington, Virginia? They've had a stick out or 2 here lately. They sold 59 steers, weighed 881 at 329.75. Wow, way out there, guys. How about El Dorado Livestock in El Dorado, Kansas? They sold 62 steers on Friday, weighing 903 at 335. Now, Bluegrass Stockyards, of all the locations they got, Richmond does really well there late in the week, but Bluegrass Stockyards in Richmond sold 160 steers, weighed 810 pounds at 345. That's well ahead of your index levels, guys. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, and your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska. Right on the Yellow Brick Road. It's one of our premium sales up there. Also a DVAuction broadcaster. This is a big quote. I haven't seen for 2 or 3 weeks here when we've been in this down market, but they did it on Friday in Burwell. 142 steers weighed 506 at 505. There's your $5 a pound for 500-pound steer, guys. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.
Treated animals received a dose of therapies when they got processed at arrival, and a second one when they were reimplanted. They were fed for a period of 138 days total. So when they were brought back to be reimplanted, a second dose of therapies were applied on the treatment group. And first of all, mortality rate on the control animals was 3%. Mortality rate on the treated animals was 1.5%. So just the reduction in mortality rate, 1.5 steer, and I paid a lot of money for these steers.
They're high dollars.
They're high dollars. would have a return over investment of 1 to 4 by using FerAppease. That's just the icing of the cake, because the bulk of the benefits were performance. The cattle that were treated with FerAppease ate more, but they gained more weight, and they finished with their hot carcass weights being almost 16 pounds. It was 15.6 pounds more hot carcass weight on the treated animals compared to the control animals.
Now, some people may not think that's a lot, but when you're feeding cattle in a commercial environment, the margins are so tight.
Yep.
That's huge. 16 pounds on the rail, that is huge.
That is huge.
Yes.
That is huge. But not only that,
especially for such a small investment, and it's not a big deal to apply the product.
It's not a big deal to apply the product. It's a small investment. We're accomplishing all of this because the cattle is feeling better. You know, we're improving the well-being of the animals, and they're returning with health and productivity. Now, the one thing that was incredible is we also increase carcass quality. Now, FerAppease, by decreasing stress and increasing intake, it gives you the pounds, 16 pounds of hot carcass weight, but it also increases carcass quality. So marbling significantly increased.
Well, there's a correlation between excited cattle. They don't marble as well.
That's right.
As calmer cattle. So naturally that would happen.
That would happen. Yeah. And we dropped the...
You got higher marbling scores.
Higher marbling scores.
It's going to give better quality grade.
You got it.
More return on their grid if you're selling them on the grid.
If you're selling them on the grid, which the majority of the cattle in the U.S. is sold on the grid. If you're selling them on live weight, they were 25 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So you're making money. If you're selling them on the grid, there's 15.5 pounds of hot carcass weight. There's more Choice Plus. The Choice Plus was increased by almost 10 percentage points. So we dropped the percentage of select carcasses from 10% to 5%.
That's huge.
So there's a lot of money in improving carcass quality. That was the result. So long story short, low-risk cattle still suffer stress. Now you're paying not with mortality and disease, because those cattle do not get the pneumonia and respiratory disease that
You don't
high-risk
expect
cattle.
them to.
You don't
Long
expect,
yearlings,
yeah.
especially single source.
They usually do
normally
good.
don't have any trouble, but it's still
Costing you.
yes, and
Still costing you in production and quality.
yeah.
So eliminating stress with therapies for low-risk cattle will give you more pounds, will give you more intake, which is, you know, converted to more heavier carcasses, but also better quality carcasses too.
Yeah.